we talked about planning, and I hope you really unpacked that session because it's going to be important for you in your ministry. But there's another level beyond planning, and that's organizing. You know, it's always fun to try to put everybody in your local church in a flow chart, right? So this week, you're going to talk about the different aspects of organizing your people. You had the Jethro Principle paper that really unpacked this for you as you looked at how Moses tried to just lead everybody. And then actually, after Jethro counseled him, he got everybody into some type of scheme to where there was people over certain groups of people. They got all the way down to groups of 10. Well, organizing this week is going to walk you through developing an organizational structure for the ministry God's called you to lead. And it's also going to talk to you about delegation. And delegation is not simply just delegating the things you don't want to do. It's actually looking at how to better achieve the ministry by equipping people and having the right people in the right places so more ministry can be accomplished, more people can be reached for Christ, resulting in more disciples made. And so I hope that you will really walk through this process of an organizational structure because it's not just an administrative function. It really is a way to accomplish more ministry by having a scheme that lets people know how they relate to one another. And it's also going to talk to you about building relationships because in ministry, not all of us are going to work with the same people. The pastor is going to have the people he works with. The person over children's ministry is going to have their workers and parents and people. The worship pastor is going to have the people they work with in the worship ministry. You're going to have the student pastor, the youth minister working with the people in their area, the minister of education, the discipleship pastor, and there's so many titles I could go through. Not every church is going to have the same titles, but the reality is you're going to have people working in the life of the church. There's going to have to be a way for them to understand how we all relate to one another. So there's a discussion in the chapter 4 church administration text about organizational flow charts, a formal structure, an informal structure. You know, the informal structure is how we like to deal with a lot of things in the local church, the conversation in the fellowship hall, the conversation between Sunday school and worship in the hallway, the informal conversation that happens after a small group in someone's living room when people are just hanging around, having another cup of coffee, those kind of things. But there's a couple of structures you need to take note of this week. The centralized structure, and that's where you have Moses and every function that has to be handled that's in a flow chart. There's a decentralized structure. You see some churches go where all staff are on the same scope. All have a purpose and a responsibility, and so they're working together to achieve that. There is really no leader, though it's more a collegial structure. And so there's a matrix organization where you have the CEO leader at the top and then who answers in the next level of leadership and then the next level of leadership and the next level of leadership. And you understand how that line organization works with a hierarchy with a designated leader. Many churches work this way with the role of the senior pastor. There's also an example of how this worked for Moses in your PowerPoint. So there in the PowerPoint, it shows you many different organizational structures. Some have even attempted to put an organizational structure to the disciples and the different relationships we see from the Gospels that Jesus had with those disciples. The reality is there is going to have to be some matrix organization, some work that organizes your ministry beyond planning. And so as you look through this, there's going to be some advantages and some disadvantages. We talk about those. There's going to be the discussion of what is a team concept for ministry. We're all on this team. There's actually going to be some flow charts to help you look at different roles of staff and how do you assign hospital visits? How do you assign scheduling? How do you assign taking care of the preschool rotation of workers on Sunday morning? Who's taking care of financial contributions? Who's taking care of all these responsibilities in the church? So there's been an attempt to look at different sized churches and put these in an organizational order that these have to be accomplished and someone's got to be taking care of it. And one person cannot take care of all of it. And so I hope that this is helpful for you as we look at the different ways we deal with authority in the church, how we treat people and how we build relationships. There is one aspect, though, this week that you need to consider. And it's it's 3 letters, RAA. We all have responsibility. We all have some level of authority. And we're all going to need some level of accountability. We need to handle our responsibility well. We need to deal with authority around us. We ultimately have authority under the Holy Spirit as the Lord worked in our lives to call us to ministry. And then we also all need accountability for what we're doing with our leadership and how we administer the work of the church. How are we dealing with people? So I hope RAA works out well for you. Don't forget about delegation as we conclude this session. Do not forget to deal with those areas as you deal with ministry. I hope this unit is beneficial for you and your ministry. It's definitely been a benefit for me over the years. Have a great week.